Don't worry, Emily, I didn't hear that. That's swearing. It was all off camera. You're good. Hello, folks. Welcome along to episode 109 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. The podcast where we dive deep into the journey of the guest's journey in business and entrepreneurship, specifically diving deep into what makes them tick, how they got started on their journey, what drives their hunger for the hustle, not only now at the start, but what continues to later on. And we also like to get into the mindset of the business owner or entrepreneur. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome on the show today a lady who we connected around about a year ago through some training by the one and only Les Brown. And just side note, guys, we don't have the best connection today, so bear with us on that. We're hoping the universe is going to be kind to us. So the video may drop in and out now and again, but I am pleased to say we will have the audio solidly all the way through. Emily, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show. And I hope I get your second name right. Emily Kalcher, is that right? Kalcher?
Yes, Kalcher. You're quite right.
Yes. And Emily has her own business, the Lunar Pumpkin Community, and I love the name of that. It's I want to get into how that came about a little bit later. Emily is a graduate astrologer of applied astrology and an intuitive tarot and oracle card reader. And I'm really excited about that because it's the first time on the show today that I've ever had an astrology reading, and for it to go down right here on the show is just marvelous, simply marvelous. So I'm looking forward to that coming together. So yes, intuitive tarot and oracle card reader, and it discovered and claimed her internal power through Les Brown's Power Voice training program, which happened last year, which I was also a part of. Emily founded the Lunar Pumpkin Community, planted in the darkness of, I love this, it sounds so mystical, planted in the darkness of new moon, and with the faith that we'll see. Sorry, let me restart on that. Emily founded the Lunar Pumpkin Community, planted in the darkness of the new moon, with faith that we'll see the light of the sun each day. Beautiful, beautiful words. The full moon will appear at its peak of the lunar cycle, and we will wax and wane with the moon lovingly growing for our highest good. Emily utilizes the knowledge of astrology, the chakras, archetypes of the moon and of the tarot to manifest her passions into reality, and in her readings for clients. In this episode right here, we will be diving into applied astrology, tarot and oracle cards, moon cycles and how they affect us. And also, like I said earlier at the start, we'll be doing a live astrology chart reading for myself. So I am really looking forward to that. Emily, it's a pleasure to welcome you on the show. How are you this morning in sunny Portsmouth, if indeed it is sunny? I think I've lost you there again, Emily. The connection is a little rough on this one, guys, so you're going to have to bear with us a little bit. Emily, can you hear me? Emily, can you hear me? Getting tumbleweed. That's no good. Hi, Emily, can you hear me? All right, well, I'm going to, in the meantime, while we wait for Emily to come back into the fold, the universe is clearly not being very kind to us. Astrologer. I mean, as Emily, you can see behind her, she's got the whole astrology chart going on, and I don't really know much about astrology at all, which is part of the reason why I wanted to bring Emily onto this show, and also because I think that it's not really the kind of conventional business you think of when you think of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. You're thinking of people who are kind of in business, and I know I've had a lot of those people in there, and we've had a lot of people that work in mindset, a lot of coaches, a lot of speakers, which is kind of ties into how the whole thing started and got created. So I wanted to bring Emily on because I don't think that many people know too much about astrology and about certainly tarot and oracle cards, and I don't. So of course I don't think that I know everything about anything at all. So I kind of gauge that you guys might not either. So that's why I brought Emily on. Emily, I've been filling and fluffing while you've been away, and while you've been working on that connection. I think I can see and hear you now. So yeah, I gave you a bit of an introduction. The guys know what you do. You are in Portsmouth in the UK. How is your morning there?
Yes, my morning is early. I don't often get up very early, but I do during the week. I'm up at like 5ish in the morning every weekday. So it's an honor and a privilege to be with you. And of course, I had to get up for you. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
No, well, thank you for that. What do they say? Early to bed, early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Are we good now? Come on, universe. Universe, stay with us.
Yep, universe, stay with us. Keep this connection good. Hey, if it cuts out again, maybe just try.
I love that. Where does that come from?
What healthy, wealthy, and wise? I'm not sure. I'm not sure who says that. If it cuts out again, just jump on your phone. You can click the same link through Messenger on your phone. It'll probably be better. All right. Maybe just do that. Okay. Try that. Try jumping out and then jump back in on your phone.
Then get the. Okay.
All right.
So. Okay.
Cool. I'll jump you out here and then jump back in on your phone, and we should be good.
Oh, I need to turn the Wi-Fi back on there, then, don't I? Okay.
No, just try doing it off your mobile signal, not the Wi-Fi. It'd probably be better. Live technical fixes here, guys. Stick with us. This is what happens, you see, when you do a live podcast. Sometimes the universe is not kind to you, and sometimes the technology does not behave as it should. So, yeah, filling and fluffing to my best here. We'll have Emily back in a sec, and when we do, I'm just going to start from the top, I reckon. I'm going to start completely from the TOP on this one because technical issues. It's been a bit of a drama, but we will get there. I know Emily has a fantastic story. I want to share that with all you guys. That's why I brought her on the show. So appreciate your patience. Please bear with us. I will be bringing Emily back in a hot minute, and we will get underway with episode 109 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. In the meantime, I'm going to do a classic fluffing, filling trick, and I'm sorry to do this, but tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Please tell us where in the world you are watching from. I would love to know. I'd love to know. Here we go. Welcome back. Hey. Can you hear me? Emily, can you hear me? Nope. I really don't want to have to, but I think we might have to reschedule this one. I think we might have to run it again another time when the connection's better.
Oh, this is weird.
There's a huge delay. Nope. Can you hear me, Emily? No, it's not. No love from the universe. All right, let me see what I can do on the side here. No. All right, guys, we're going to have to count this episode. It's the first time I've had to do that because of connection issues, but look, it happens sometimes. So we'll count this one. We will come back with it stronger, better, and more fiery in the week. I'll let all you guys know when it's going to be. Aha, wait there. Just as I said that. Hey. You just need to unmute yourself, and I think we're good. Mute button at the bottom there on the little white box.
Okay.
There we go.
Pretty in here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for doing that. Right, guys, I know we're 10 minutes in, and thank you for your patience if you've carried on watching all the way through. We're going to start from the top. Good. All right, folks. Thanks for your patience at 11 minutes. Episode 109 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. Here it is, live and direct from me in Melbourne, Australia. My guest, Emily Kalcher, over in Portsmouth in the UK. To you, all around the world, wherever you are listening to this now, live or later, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on board. Emily Kalcher is a graduate astrologer of applied astrology, an intuitive tarot and oracle card reader. She claimed her internal power through none other than Les Brown's Power Voice training program. Emily founded the Lunar Pumpkin Community, planted in the darkness of the new moon, with the faith that we'll see the light of the sun each new day. The full moon will appear at its peak of the lunar cycle, and we will wax and wane with the moon, lovingly growing for our highest good. Emily utilizes her knowledge of astrology, the chakras, and the archetypes of the moon and the tarot to manifest her passions into reality, to reading for her clients. And I'm actually going to be blessed to have a reading from Emily today, which I'm really looking forward to. I've never had a astrology reading before, and what a place to kickstart it, but live to the world on the podcast. Emily, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you along to the show. How are you today in what looks like behind you, sunny Portsmouth?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Universe, have our connection, please.
Yeah, no, I think we're good now. We're good. There's no stopping us now. Ain't no stopping us now. There you go. At least you sound back like that. Do like that. That's fantastic. Emily, let's get into it. Let's tell us a little bit about your story. What led you to start studying astrology, and how did the Lunar Pumpkin Community come to be?
So I've always been quite intuitive in a way. I've grown up not far from an observatory, so you could go and see the night sky and that sort of thing. But as a lot of people have, I had quite a bit of trauma and things to contend with in my life growing up. Had a very loving family, but yes, there were quite a few things that I had to work through. One of them being depression from an early age. Like our mentor, Mr. Les Brown, I also have a neurodiversity, which is called dyspraxia. So in my brain, I'd convinced myself growing up that I was stupid. Obviously, I've realized over the years that's not the case. And I got many different GCSEs, came out with 9 GCSEs, which I felt was a huge achievement. Got through college, did a whole health studies, BTEC diploma, got a distinction on some of the topics, merits on others, came out with the equivalent of 3 Bs at A-level, thinking, okay, so I'm not stupid after all. I proved myself and everybody wrong. But when it comes to astrology, I also have what's called inflammatory bowel disease, which is known as Crohn's as well. And I was looking for a way to heal my body, particularly with its associated arthritis. And I discovered that yoga was the first thing that I wanted to try. There were lots of different teachers that I didn't quite gel with until I found Cassandra Reinhardt, and her channel is called Yoga with Cassandra. And one of the things she was doing was a program called Lunar Yoga, and that really appealed to me. I thought, oh, I can work with the moon, because whenever I looked up at the night sky and saw the moon, I realized there's something greater than me. And if there's something greater than me out there, that gives that inner peace, knowing that actually, if everything is connected to the world around me and I'm still a part of it, I can't really go 100% wrong. I have to be there within it. And it was kind of a grounding property. And also, if ever I had a big decision in life to make, I looked at the sun, and if there were angel rays, I knew I was on the right path. You know, when the sun kind of comes through the clouds, that direct beam, as it were. The
nice
Lunar Yoga. Sorry?
I said that's a lovely sign, isn't it? And it's a lovely sight as well whenever you see that. But to take that as a sign that you're on the right path and on the right track, that's a great thing.
Yeah. So when it came to the Lunar Yoga program, so that was doing more sort of gentle flows when it comes to new moon. Because at new moons, we have the opportunity to really go inward. We can't see the moon in the night sky, and we're being more reflective. Our energy levels are likely slightly lower. Obviously not for everybody, but that is the general consensus. A lot of people at that point. We have that opportunity in the next couple of days or so to set an intention to work with. And then as it goes through the whole 28.5 days, 29 days cycle, we can work with our goals intuitively and take action steps, particularly when it comes to a week after the new moon. That's the first quarter moon. And then again, we've got another challenge to face nearer the end of the lunar cycle, just to sort of get through that completion stage. But yeah, the Lunar Yoga was what kind of helped me to realize that, oh yes, it's really amazing for my joints and my muscles, doing the yoga, but also working with the moon was quite grounding for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm a big fan of yoga myself, actually. It's really helped me with flexibility and kind of lengthening those muscles. You know, I'm quite a tall guy, so I've always been pretty flexible, but it's nice to just kind of explore that, I find, with the yoga as well, and find your kind of your stretching points and get past them and become more flexible and more supple. And of course, it's the benefits to the mind as well in yoga are vast as well. You know, just the movement, getting into that flow. But I must say, I've never heard it combined with lunar at all, and I'd love to know, like, how does that actually work? So are the flows based around the cycle of the moon at that time?
Yeah, so basically, when, as I say, if it's near the new moon, you do something more gentle, and it gets to the full moon being the peak of the lunar cycle, you do something really quite active and vigorous. So you might be doing, say, your if you're into it, Ashtanga yoga, which is like the really kind of hardcore, and people do like lots of inversions that hang themselves upside down or whatever. I don't do that, but I'll do something more active, more vinyasa flows and things. But with its new moon, I'll do more of a yin yoga, because that targets the tissues rather than the muscles. And you can hold a pose for a longer time and prop yourself up with loads of cushions, blankets, whatever. And it really gets into the emotional spectrum of things. So for me, it's that balancing of the emotions as well as your actions and everything together. But yeah, I was quite gutted when the lunar yoga finished. So I thought, oh, what am I going to do now? And then I bought one of the diaries from Yasmin Boland. She's actually Australian herself. I think she grew up in Tasmania, but then she moved over to London, and she's been a journalist for so many years, and then was sort of resident astrologer for lots of UK magazines. And now she's got a book called Moonology. I've got her cards as well, and I went to one of her webinars when I got one of her free charts, and I thought, so okay, I'm a Gemini rising. I mean, for any astrologers out there, I'm a Gemini sun, I'm a Gemini rising, and I've got a Capricorn moon. So I've all up in the clouds and sort of learning everything as much as I possibly can, talking loads and loads and loads, and then probably making people's ears ache. But at the same time, I want to learn. I'm just like this little sponge for knowledge. I want to learn everything, but I can be quite scattered on timing. So when it comes to timing, if you want me to show up somewhere on time, tell me like an hour or two before, and then I'll be there. But it's kind of if something's way in advance, oh, I've got all the time in the world, and then when I know that I've got a short time frame, then I really crack on and I don't stop, because my Capricorn moon is that kind of that grounding, earthy energy that keeps me in this world, as it were, rather than floating off into the heavens. So it's kind of paring everything down to make sure that I'm still present.
I'm with you on that. I'd be interested to know, maybe we'll know when we get into it in the reading in a bit, which ones of those I am, because some of those traits that you said there, particularly the hunger to learn and always talking and never really stop talking, and then just like can be a little bit scattered sometimes, for sure. So I'd like to, some of those kind of align with me, head in the clouds as well sometimes. Or sometimes it's the safest place to be.
Yeah. I do have quite a few sort of Pisces placements as well. So we'll get on to a little bit anyway, but in your reading. But for me, sort of Jupiter's that big kind of expansive planet, which tells us about personal growth, and also it's that planet of Lady Luck. So, but also Deborah Silverman, who I trained under in astrology, she calls it Father Christmas, because she said it's all everything. And if you're going to get luck, you're going to get it in really big form, just like it would be at Christmas. But then if you get things that aren't what you want, they're still going to expand anyway. But you still need to kind of work out where the balance is within that.
Balance, yeah, balance.
So the other big one we talk about a lot of is Saturn. Is that planet of karma. So it asks you to have those boundaries and structures to everything you do. So it's really that planet of purpose. So those two I've kind of relate quite a lot to, but my Jupiter is my joy and my big expansion of everything is in Pisces. It's in the spiritual side of things, and it's kind of the deep water and sort of being slightly I can be quite, what's the word, I can go off and do my own thing and sort of shut the world out when I need to sort of
isolate.
Yeah.
Good skill to have, isn't it, for the past year and a half, being comfortable with yourself and
yes. So much fun. Lockdown's perfect for me.
So one thing I want to just dive a little bit deeper into a couple of things you mentioned there. You said, you got into the lunar yoga and you had some particular health problems, which is Crohn's. Crohn's is, it's quite a serious health issue. And did you find it helped with that?
Yes.
That's really good. Really good. And then you thought, well, I'm inspired by, I really dial into this whole lunar thing, and you just stuck with it. And then, the Lunar Pumpkin Community was born out of that. Where did the pumpkin part come from?
So my husband, he's very sort of larger than life. He's a Sagittarius, and that is actually ruled by Jupiter. He can be quite blunt, but he can also be absolutely hilarious. It's got lots of fire energy. In astrology, we have lots of different axes. So you've got sort of the grand cross of a chart where you've got sort of your rising signs on that eastern horizon. Directly opposite that is your descendant, which can be sort of your love line in lots of different things. But then the top of your chart is all about your sort of reputation, and then that lower part of your chart, the nadir, is about your root and sort of where you are grounded in sort of yourself in that respect. So within that sort of cross of matter, your you're very much that sort of forms the basis of who you are in lots of different areas of your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then sort of from that rising sign at the eastern horizon, I'll go into a little bit in a bit, but that determines sort of where your houses start and everything. So your houses are your aspects of your life. So for instance, your first house is all about identity. But then if you go right through your fourth house is that starting of where you are from your family and the first tribe you create in life, going straight through to everything else. So from there you sort of grow and grow and grow until you reach the last house, the 12th house. You've actually evolved through a lot through your life. So although they're kind of represented by the archetypes of so many things, there's kind of that natural progression which everything, all the planets can follow, and any kind of interactions between that map, your natal chart, your map of you, to the rest of your life happens. I hope I haven't confused you. I go off on one with astrology sometimes, and I kind of need to.
It's okay. It's a deep subject, right? You know, and we can
probably
spend many hours talking about it. So.
My point was that where I light up and my sort of joy factor is the spirituality.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's evident. It plays out, you know, that you've chosen to do what you do and create a business from it.
And it's healing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, healing's a big one. You know, with you know, you mentioned it at the start there. You know, you'd had your own traumas in life you have to deal with, and I think a lot of people have experienced trauma who'd never had before in the past kind of 12, 18 months as a result of what's been going on, and still does continue to go on, of course, throughout the world. So any way that you can help others and make a difference to them and help their healing is a beautiful thing. So I commend you for doing what you've done and going forth and making the commitment to help other people. I think that's a brilliant thing to do, and it's not something that everyone would choose to do. So good on you, as they say in Australia, for doing that.
Yeah, it's been quite a learning curve.
Of course it is. No, that's what business is. Absolutely. Yeah.
In the sense that a lot of my career I've been healing, but also in a way that sort of drains me. Whereas now I want to heal in a way that will build me back up, but also it's showing that experience of, oh, I've already grown through that. Actually, that'd be useful to let other people know, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Because you never know where somebody's at. There's always sort of a high and a low road of everything in life. And even as I was talking about sort of the archetypes of like planets and signs and etc., and how they play out with transits of what's happening now in the sky versus what you've already got, as it were, how that all plays out, there's always going to be the in-between and then the high and the low. And it's kind of knowing where somebody is and where they can get to, because we're all always learning and growing, all of us. And it's never sort of static, is it?
No, it's never static. I think if you're, you know, when the student shows up, the teacher is ready to learn, and vice versa. You know, and the teacher is ready to there and show up. The student is often but not always there. But in both accounts, you have to always keep your heart and your mind open to learning. You know, you don't have to. If you do, I think life's a bit more beneficial.
Oh yes, totally.
Mm-hmm. So, what's been your kind of biggest challenges and biggest kind of wins? I kind of molded that question into one there, but like challenges and wins since you started the business.
Okay, so although I didn't say exactly when it started, I think it was June 2020 is when I was holding space for about 30 people. I was doing Deepak Chopra's meditation challenge. And so he had a 21-day challenge that a yoga teacher that's quite local to me was sharing over WhatsApp. So shout out to Luke from LV Yoga. Anyway, I had said to him, I don't know whether I can do day 5, which was sharing your group with other people. So you're starting your own meditation group and sharing them. Like, I don't know if I can do that. And he said, just do it anyway and see whether anyone shows up. So I thought, do you know what? I might say in Yasmin Boland's community, I wonder if anyone wants to join me. I'm doing a meditation challenge. And I got so many people saying, oh, I do. And the time zones were a huge challenge. I was thinking, oh, well, WhatsApp and its capabilities, and trying to make sure everybody's at a similar level is really hard.
It is. I know that very well.
So somebody suggested, oh, well, can you do this on YouTube or Facebook so we can just come in there? And that's when Lunar Pumpkin was born. So, I've just realised I didn't fully answer a question. But basically, pumpkin was what my husband calls me. He tells me I have a mini head because of like sort of scatterbrain tendencies at times, or something. He'll say, "Oh, I told you that." "Oh, did you?" "Oh, yeah, you did actually, because you told me this," and I'll tell him all the details of how he told me. But if he says, "Oh, I told you," I think, "Did you?" And then it's not until he says something I think, oh, actually, yes, you did. But yeah, so he calls me pumpkin, but he says I have a tiny head. And it's kind of, the lunar pumpkin is, so the moon cycle bringing pumpkin to life in a way. Manifesting with the moon is obviously my bag. It's what I do. And I think it's really beneficial to the world at large.
I think it is as well. I love the way you tied in that personality, to the name of the business. It's great.
But yeah, so yeah, Lunar Pumpkin was born from sharing Deepak Chopra's challenge and being brave enough to hold space for over 30 people. And a lot of people said that they found it inspiring. And I thought, well, I'll just do a few daily blogs on what I'd learned at that point through reading Yasmin's diaries and the Gemini Rising webinar. And when opportunities came up in the lockdown of, I can't remember which one came first, whether it was the Power Voice or whether it was Astrology. I think it was Power Voice. And I thought, right, okay. So I shared my speech of Shoot for the Moon.
I remember it.
You do. With terrible lighting because it's 10 o'clock at night. But it was that point where I'd finally found my comfort in speaking my truth and realizing, do you know what? It's not perfect, but actually nobody's perfect. And it's better to share what I have and be brave enough to do so than to hold back and keep saying, well, what if? It's letting that monkey mind creep in at times and saying, oh, but you should do this instead. Are you sure you're ready? Thinking, well, no, but if I'm not ready and I'm never going to be ready, let's give what I've got. And,
do what you can where you are with what you have, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
And I love that Les Brown says, shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. And I thought, well, the stars are a lovely place to be.
Particularly if you're into astrology, right? Yeah, that's very true. And I can see now, looking back, that the connection you made between that and your speech. Yeah. And then so that you found that enabled you to be able to, not enabled, but it kind of bolstered your confidence in being able to hold space for others, which you then led to do with the meditation.
Yes, and then obviously that a few months later, discovering by chance on Instagram Deborah Silverman, and realizing, oh, do you know what? I'm still into astrology, and it's now or never. I've already got my page, and that's growing. My Facebook page. So let's just try it. And went through both levels 1 and 2 during lockdown, and was thinking, well, how am I going to fit in level 3? So I just took a week off work and did it over a few days. And I'm actually, I'm doing a catch up tomorrow with some of what I call my Astro family. Some of us who also are in level 3. I'm hosting, of course.
Brilliant. I love that you've adopted the hosting role. I think that you know, would you say that you're a natural leader, or it's just a skill that you've developed? Because clearly you are, you know.
So I didn't think I was.
Well, look, I only know you as much as we've connected previously. But I'm led to think you are, because you adopt the leader role you did when you was holding space for others, and you were going to tomorrow in the reconnection of your group.
I sort of fall into it, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So if I'm around a lot of people that are quite shy, I can feel their energy because I have that high sensitivity. So if I walk in a room, I'll know there's somebody in the room who's upset, and I have to sort of ground myself in a few minutes to make sure that I'm not taken down with them. But then I realize, oh, what can I give them? And I'm not necessarily knowing exactly who it is until unless they make themselves known, but I can feel that something's going on in a room, and I'll try and give the room the sort of more uplifted energy, if that makes sense. So if I see somebody who's quite shy and they're going through something, I just might literally just say, oh, you all right? Do you want to talk about it? And if they do, then obviously I'll try and involve them if it's a group situation, and just say, oh, that's all right. I make an idiot of myself every day. Don't worry. It's okay. So you can do it.
Human, yeah. Well, do you think we should get into the reading?
Okay, let's go for it.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. So always in any reading, I always check that I've got chart details correct. Prior to us being live today, we did check. I won't say your whole details, but yes, so we know that that's correct. So what I'd like to do, because astrology is all about, oh, you're right.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Astrology is all about timing. So I'd like to look at a few dates with you. So can you remember 2009, what that year was like for you? So you might have been about 21.
Yeah, it was exciting and very outgoing. Very outgoing. It was probably prime time to just be out partying a lot. And would I have still been running events? Yeah, I would have still been running my own events then as well, yeah. Yeah. And I would have actually, let me think, that was the year before I moved out of my mum's house. So yeah, it was like a time of quite transition for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to give more than that? Do I need to give some more than that? Keep going. No, that's good.
So the dates I'm asking about might be about transitions in your life anyway. So yes, that is obviously says that your chart was starting to get activated at that point. Which
it was a big new part of my life at that point. And plus it was within your 7-year cycle, 7, 14, 21.
Yes. Another date would be 2017. Can you remember what that year was like?
Yeah. Another time of transition, because I moved to Australia and yeah. Do you know, I'll be honest, I can't remember too much from 2017. It was 2 years after I moved to Australia. But yeah, there was certainly not so much change happening. I'd kind of become settled there in Australia since then. Exploring the new things, though. I do believe actually that was the year I started my business. Yeah, so that would have been brought some new challenges and changes for sure.
And yeah, so that's quite cool. It's sort of settling into a bit of your purpose. So the dates I was asking you about, I wouldn't necessarily tell everybody this, but the dates I was asking about were Saturn dates, and Saturn's all about purpose and it is about the transitions and boundaries. So if you're following your Saturn, then actually you're on track. Whereas if you're ignoring sort of the messages that are given to you, it can be really tricky to go through. But it sounds like you've been going through it quite well. And obviously, if it was slightly more, what's the word? Slightly more challenging when you were about 21 or so, that's fair enough, because that would have been one of your first major dates. But yeah, at your Saturn return, it sounds like you were kind of mastering it a bit, which is kind of cool.
I think you're always trying to master life, aren't you?
You are, yes. Every 7 years or so, you get this. That's where it comes from, the phrase of the 7-year itch. It's kind of, okay, am I on track? If you're not, you're going to be kicked back on track.
And isn't 7 years also the amount of time that it takes every single cell in the body to regenerate?
Yes.
You kind of like, there's like a rebirth kind of thing there.
Yes.
And I think it kind of figures out, of course, was like, if you think you're very different to who you are when you're 7 to when you're 14 to who you are when you're 21 to when you're 27 and again 32. Is that right? Yeah, 32. So big kind of transitions and changes in life at that time.
Exactly. Growth points.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I concur. Yeah, definitely.
So if we look a little bit at you, so you're Virgo Sun and Leo Moon and Libra Rising. I don't know what you know about any astrology or anything in between.
Zero.
Zero.
I know what star sign I am, and I read my horoscope occasionally. That's really all I know.
So do you read Virgo then?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So your chart suggests to me that you're quite down to earth, but quite meticulous with details and things, but also quite other oriented. So very much about your community, feeds into who you are, because you're wanting to be of service to your community. And you see that sort of beauty and ritual in the everyday. Does that sound true for you?
It does, all of it.
That's kind of cool. Because usually you never know where people, let's say, you never know whether you're hitting the nail on the head or whatever.
No, I've always, like in any kind of reading I've done or look into I've done, and every time I've read like what a Virgo is and what the typical traits are, they all very much align with who I am. Yeah. And not like who I am now, but who I've always been as well, like a core base.
Yeah, to me, the sun sign, which is what people say the star sign in magazines and things, but it's your sun sign is what the astrological name for it would be. So a lover of the outdoors, caring for either plants or animals, perhaps. As I say, being in service is likely very important to you. What else? Obviously, Virgo is an earth sign. So earth is all about our practicalities. It's quite mellow. It's sort of slow to anger. It's very grounded and yes, that sort of thing. What else? Okay. So do you find it hard to sort of switch off a stream of thoughts at all?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Very, very hard. That's why I'm so big on meditation. It helps me to be able to switch off.
Yeah, going out in nature or meditating would be amazing.
Yeah, nature's my key. And it's something I've really missed, lately, because we're still down here, have been for a minute, is reconnecting with nature and being able to get that disconnect, which just, when you're away from noise, you don't hear it. Simple as that.
I think I can see this anyway, but you're obviously a very great networker. But your chart is confirming that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So you're likely quite humanitarian in your approach and wanting to nourish and maintain the world around you to some extent.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've always been service-based, wanting to serve others, you know, and also serving a cause that's greater than myself, which I believe, you know, that's the intent of this podcast, and it will be a forthcoming project as a consequence of it.
Yes. So to me, that comes to the purpose of humanity, and it's sort of this evolution of humanity. You're always looking to be of service, to connect to everything else.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Virgo, because it always naturally is in that alignment.
Yeah.
So I can learn a lot from you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And sometimes you can do it too much though as a Virgo, you know, you can be too empathic, too compassionate. I know that sounds very contradictory in the words that are actually coming out of my mouth there, but I think you can be, when it comes to the expense of yourself, you know, your service to others, you know, in the micro, that's fine, but when it can become a bit too much sometimes, you know. And what I mean by that is that sometimes if you before yourself too much, you lose power on your batteries, you know. When you haven't got your batteries charged, you don't have energy to give out to anyone else.
Yeah.
It's something I battle with, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk about your moon. So your moon is in Leo, and Leo is that sign that really wants to be seen and heard. And when it comes to the moon, it's sort of our emotions and our inner world. So if at any point you might feel that you're not being heard, you might want to make a little bit of noise. You might become a bit more sort of bossy. Can you see that in yourself?
Yep. Yeah.
Because fire's always got to be moving, and that's Leo is a fire sign, and you have so much fire in your chart, which is probably why you're quite successful. It's all that creativity and passion and drive. So what have I said? So to me, Moon and Leo is all about generosity, loyalty, and that confidence in your self-expression is important. So we've mentioned that. I mean, have you always felt comfortable in expressing your needs, your sort of innermost personal needs, and what you need to feel kind of comfortable in your life?
No, because I didn't always understand what they were. Because I didn't always, you know, for the first 20, how old was I when I came to Australia? For the first 27 years of my life, I never took quiet time to reflect and align with what my needs were. And, you know, you said about being heard and seen, like even being heard and seen within yourself, that's the space that I find what meditation and journaling is for me. Of course, it's all good and well to be heard and seen by others, but holding the space literally for yourself to be heard and seen, and yeah, figuring out what your needs are, you know, and what your values are. Until you do that, I found personally that I found it quite hard to express with awareness, at least, what my needs were. You know, of course, you can always do it quite flippantly and I guess somewhat naturally. But yeah, I find it like now because I know what they are, because I take time to listen to my feelings.
Yeah.
Long answer, but an honest one.
No, that's beautiful, because it's I say it's like that earth and that fire coming together. That fire can at times sort of burn too hot and obliterate things in its path, but it can also be coming back to inspiration, creativity, that little spark that we need to get going. But the Virgo, the earthy kind of side of things, it can be sort of the analysis paralysis, but it can also be the beauty and the holding space for life to grow. It's kind of, if you balance those two, you're at the high end of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
it does.
It sounds like you're doing quite well.
Notes taken. Yeah, I mean, Sometimes I'm better than it than others, but at least I do it and I have a practice and habit of doing it. That's the key thing.
Aren't we all? We're
Yeah.
human at the end of the day.
Yes, last time I checked, I was human. I believe so.
Divine beings having a human experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered some of that. Oh yes, also Leo speaks also to that inner child, and spending a lot of time with children can be quite a beneficial thing for you. I don't know whether that's something you do, but
I mean, it's not something I do a whole lot of because why? Because I don't have that many friends that live near to me that have children, right? But it's something I love doing. I always naturally am drawn to children, and like this is going to sound weird, but I'm even putting these two in the same category. Children and dogs, like always naturally drawn to me, and I'm always naturally drawn to them, and we always get along really well. So yes, that's definitely right.
Yeah, it's that need to have fun, basically.
Yes.
With your moon.
Yeah. The need to, I'm a very playful person. I need to reconnect with my inner child.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes when we're adults and we're in that rut race of life, and this needs to be done, that needs to be done, this is at that time, that's at that time, and you actually forget to play. And I think it's Esther Perel, who's quite a well-known therapist. She's a couples therapist, and she says that she talks about eroticism, but not in the way that it has to be sort of lewd and overbearing or highly sexual. She talks about it as actually, no, we need that balance. We need to feel alive. And that's kind of that feel of it. So it's, I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to get at there.
I think so.
Yeah, we need to feel alive. So I've covered a bit about your moon. Okay, so your Libra rising, and Libra is that sign of balance, justice, and harmony, and it wants peace at all costs. But being your rising sign, you don't always know it, if that makes sense. When people first meet you, they'll probably see you as being quite talkative, liking the aesthetic of things. And then when they get to know you, that's when they know your sun, and they know your sort of more Virgo traits. So when people first meet you, they'll probably see you as quite a skillful communicator, and you have that potential as you sort of rise into it over your lifetime to keep building beautiful relationships. I don't mean just in sort of love or romance or whatever. I mean throughout, whether it's business, whether it's people you meet on the streets, everybody, without losing the essence of who you are. Because, Libra can be quite flippant in that respect sometimes, but it's a case of the high road of Libra is realizing that the most important relationship is with yourself. And if you love yourself, everything else falls into place.
Yeah, that's literally like my mantra.
Wow.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Would you say you were quite a romantic?
Yeah. And I find the right person to be romantic with. Although you shouldn't always connect romanticism to intimate relationships, right? You can be romantic in many ways, but yes, I would say so.
So that the little low road of Libra is the sort of people pleasing, but that can be the case for any of the air signs.
Yeah. I'd say I am a people pleaser, but not as much as I used to be.
There you go. You're growing into your own. That's good. We've already discussed that. Okay, so what stands out in your chart is that you've got a lot of planets in your third house. And so your third house is all about communication and connecting with people. It can be about your siblings as well. But say you've got 3 or more planets, we call that a stellium. So you've got stellium in your 3rd house, and your 1 is ruled by Sagittarius. So again, we're leaning back into the fire, and it's the larger than life qualities. You're probably liking to talk about adventure and travel and philosophy when it comes to the sort of spectrum of conversations you like to have. Is that accurate?
Very much so. Very much so. I'm just saying, just pause here, 'cause I'm just finding this whole thing so fascinating. It's like it's almost like someone's written a book on my traits and you're just reading it. With like 90% of the things that you're saying, I feel like that's how it is.
Oh wow. You don't often get that in readings. I mean, I've done lots of friends and family, and obviously I'm trying to build this more as a business, and I'd like paid clients and things, but thank you. That's kind of cool.
It's just how I feel. It's yeah.
So also, one of the other things that stands out is that your sun actually squares your Saturn. So let me break that down. So as we're saying about Saturn is like a purpose, and squares can be about challenges. But if you look at a challenge, challenges are there to help us grow. So they're not necessarily negative. There's nothing in a chart that's necessarily positive or negative. It's all in the application of how you deal with it. You may feel that you've faced a fair few challenges within necessarily your early life, and felt a little bit unlucky in that sense. And I wonder whether you find yourself saying, I should do this, rather than giving yourself a bit of a break, because Saturn can be quite hard in that respect.
Yeah. The latter part I agree with. That I can be definitely very hard on myself, and I'm always, that life is a never-ending to-do list for me. But that's because there's so many things I want to achieve, and to achieve things, you have to do things, right? But I don't align. I'd actually flip it the other way around. That in my earlier life, I really didn't have very many struggles or challenges at all.
Okay.
So I don't agree. That's interesting, isn't it? Just as I said it, like it super aligns with all of me. Then there was a part that didn't. So yeah,
that's fine. Well,
that's fine.
Okay. Not everything's going to land the same for everyone.
True.
Okay. What else? So you're what's called a trine. There's which are the harmonious connections. You've got one between your moon, as you say, which is sort of your inner temperament and personal needs, but also with Saturn and Uranus. And so Uranus kind of, it can be that change, that awakening of it can show up as sort of surprises and unexpected events and things. But what was I going to ask you? So are you comfortable with processing a full spectrum of your emotions?
Yeah, I am. That's often what I usually make a little bit of time to do that at the end of a meditation. Just check in with the feelings, look behind them, look behind them, look behind them, look behind them until you get to the root emotion, or generally the root emotion.
Yeah, brilliant.
It always used to be though. I had to kind of train myself to do that. In fact, on my show, and a really good friend of mine, Dr. Yuri Chalmers, was the one he's a I have to get this right, a psychotherapist he is, and he really helped me out with learning how to listen to my own feelings and sit with them, whether they're comfortable or uncomfortable.
Yes, because actually that there's less in the way of the element of water in your chart, and water, as I say, is all the range of emotions. But with your moon having that connection, I was kind of wondering how that landed. So it's kind of, yeah, it looks like you've done quite a bit of work there anyway. I'm just interested, any areas in your life that you're kind of wanting to develop, shall we say?
That's an interesting question. Honestly, I'd say I would like to develop more my, and it's probably due to this time, my capacity to be a little bit more organized with all the things that I have going on. You know, I'm very good at dialing into one thing and organizing that. And maybe it's just a case of having less things going on, right? But I'm very good at dialing into one thing and organizing that. But when it comes to a multitude of things, sometimes I struggle to keep them all well balanced. Yeah, balance, I guess, essentially, is one thing I'd like to work on more.
I guess sometimes it's kind of growing into that anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, or finding people to help you with it, you know, which is something I'm a lot more open to than I used to be.
So what else do you have? So you have what's called a cardinal T-square. So in your chart, you'll probably see it as a red triangle. And the cardinal energy is all about getting things started, and it's all about leadership and that sort of thing. So the challenge is there. It might show up as a bit of sort of impatience or frustration at times. But the beauty is that you come across as, from what I can see and also in your chart, a natural enterprising person. So if you're already looking at the way that you show up and having all that kind of awareness, you're likely to start things off okay and keep them going, the momentum of them, but sometimes there might be a challenge in getting started. Does that sound about right?
Sometimes, yeah, particularly as of late, yeah.
But the release point of that is again coming back to feelings, because it releases in the sign of Cancer, and Cancer is about feelings in the family, and I say that first tribe that we create in life. So yeah, if you're already working on sort of your emotional realm of things, and you're having that deep awareness and taking that time out is the key, as you say, to not be so busy all the time.
Yes.
Having time out then heals the rest of the balance of who you are and your potential in this life.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, because I used to be very, 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 very busy, and wasn't good at balancing. And then I went to a point that I just cut out a lot of things, and it enabled, obviously, to be easier at balancing things out. And then I started to lean more back into taking more things on, and the balance got less. So I guess there's two solutions. I either find people that can help me share some of the load, or I do less things. And I don't think it's going to be the second one. I enjoy just enjoy projects. I enjoy, like, for me, life's about projects and people, and I'll never stop meeting new ones or starting new ones.
Oh, that's so lovely. Just see if there's anything else. Okay, so I want to give you a little sort of directive, practical takeaway. So this incorporates, as I say, a bit of Saturn, but also what's called your North Node. So your North Node is that kind of access point to your soul's growth. So we've already discussed a lot of this already, but the thing is, being comfortable in being blunt and honest, regardless of how people perceive you, but also taking that time out to be still, to breathe, meditate, and journal. And giving yourself that full permission, as I say. But I think you're already doing it, which is quite reassuring.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful advice to me, and I'm definitely going to follow it and take action on it. You're right. I've been doing some of it, but not to the capacity that I'm aware it needs to be done.
Wow. And don't feel guilty about it.
I'll try not to.
As I say, we're all a work in progress, always learning and growing.
I remember someone said to me, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it many more times because it's true. Again, my friend Yuri, I mention him a lot on the podcast because he's a really good friend of mine. But he said to me, once you open this door to this room of personal development, or you start driving down this road of personal development, it's one that you can never close and that you never ends. And I was like, oh, that sounds a bit scary. I don't know about that, but it is true. It's true because you can always better your best, I believe. And and life is always constant. One thing is constant is change. And when you embrace that and change with it, and evolve with it, then personal development never changes. It never ends. Sorry.
Oh, that's beautiful. I hope that was okay for you.
That's good. That was really, excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. That was a really good, wholesome, and we've gone way over the hour, by the way, but I don't care because it's been fantastic. I hope the guys have found it as interesting, the audience have found it as interesting as I have, because it is really interesting. I think you're fantastic at what you do, and I want you to just tell the guys where they can find you and connect with you if they would like to engage with you or your services. I'm going to drop that in the comments and it will be on the show notes. But yeah, please tell the guys on the audio will be able to hear later.
Yeah. So my Facebook community is just called Lunar Pumpkin. And you'll see a giant pumpkin with the phases of the moon on it. My husband actually made that for me, my logo.
Oh, wonderful.
And he also made my website, which is lunar-pumpkin.com. I'm also on YouTube, also called Lunar Pumpkin. And yes, I've actually got what's called a snip feed link on the bio of my Instagram, and I've just put it on Facebook as well. So any kind of things that I'm working on, people can see that. And I actually put this on there, the link to our Hunger for the Hustle talk. So people can see that.
Wonderful. We've just had a gentleman here who wants to ask a question, so we will just wait a second there to see what his question is.
Lovely. Let's go for it.
Let's. That might take a minute or so to get through. Thanks. What's that cup? What's the mug on it?
It's a triple moon goddess cup.
Nice.
Got it from the Holistic Emporium on the Isle of Wight, actually.
Oh, I've not been there in many years. I feel like, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like there's probably lots, if not everything, in your house is kind of astrology related.
Just say not everything or everything.
Like, if not everything, then many things.
Many things.
Yeah.
Just even in this room, I'll show you. We have some amethyst.
Ooh, I like that.
But that's just in this room. The dining room where I was earlier with the sun and a depiction of the signs of the zodiac on a cloth behind me. There's loads of crystals in that room, and I've got some in the bedroom, and then I'm wearing them as well. So we've got black tourmaline, protection and transmuting any negative energies. And I'm wearing a emerald as well, because that is associated a bit with Gemini. And I've got moonstone bracelet, working with the moon, of course.
Crystals everywhere. It reminds me, actually, shout out to my friend. I don't know if she's watching this. Shout out to my friend Tiffany. She is starting a business selling crystals here in Australia. I don't know if she was going to be interested in this podcast for that reason. The question that's come through I'm not sure how well this will play out, but I'm more than willing to mention it. Gentleman called Radha Gupta has asked, and I don't know, because you're not really a psychic, right? I don't know how well you're going to be equipped to answer this, and certainly nor am I, but he's asked, Radha has, if possible, may I please ask if I will get the job offer from IBM and when I'm going to my final interview there soon? I don't know how you want to answer that, if you even can. Or...
I kind of need to grab a deck. Is that okay?
Go for it, please, yes.
Let me just see what I have to go to the dining room where we were. One moment.
Yeah, that's fine. So this is actually getting really it's actually getting really interesting, guys. While Emily's away there, I'm just gonna, you can see the question that came up on the bottom there from Radha, and thanks Gupta, thanks Radha for the question, really appreciate that. And Emily's going to be back in a sec here with the welcome back. Is that what kind of card deck are we working with here?
So
is it tarot or oracle cards?
I've got oracle because I dropped my tarot deck on the floor earlier, so I don't want to spend too much time for it.
So I'm going to put you on the full screen. I'm going to put you on the full screen there, so people can get the full impact. You'll still be able to hear me. But yeah, go ahead. We're going to answer this question at the bottom here for Radha.
So Radha, I'm just going to pull you one card from the Moonology deck to say where things are at the moment and what your potential energies might be at the moment. And then one card going forward for the action from the 7 Energies Oracle, which is by Colette Baron Reid. So let's see what we get. So what does Radha Gupta need to know about this job offer for where he is at the moment? And we get this card. Okay, so prosperity lies ahead. It's a new moon in Taurus. So new moon cards are all about new opportunities. So I'm not surprised that came up for you. And that is a very good message to say that prosperity lies ahead. So you're likely feeling quite grounded and excited for this opportunity. And let's see what the card is that we get to say what an action step would be in order to make this a reality for you, make it practical. Jumped up. Okay, willing release. So to me, just intuitively, this would suggest that you need to be willing to release any attachments to past opportunities that maybe haven't gone quite so well. And the numerology of the card, we've got, it's 49, so 3 1 makes 4, so it's 4. So it's setting about your foundation. So if there's any practical steps that you can make so that they're towards your that will actually set up the foundations for moving into this opportunity, go ahead and make those. I'm just going to have a quick look at what Colette Baron Reid says to see what energy it's in, what element it usually falls in. Do I have her guidebook? I do. So let's find out. Card number 49.
Just while you're doing that, Radha said he said, "Oh well, I'm a Taurus too."
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah.
Wow, it's as though the cards knew. The synchronicities can be absolutely amazing. Come on, 49, where are you? Okay, so she said that the key concepts about yielding to a divine plan, releasing attachment to form, and if something isn't what you expected or wanting, leaving room for serendipity. So I think we pretty much said that actually. So about making sure that you're not too attached to what has been and allowing that space for new opportunities to grow, and just being open to having that energy there. I hope that's helpful to you, and I think it's ultimately quite a good feeling towards it. So I hope that all works out for you. The cards suggest it may.
I hope so. He said he's very, very thankful. Let me just find the right comment here. He said thanks a lot, and he's even dropped a little love heart. So yeah,
Oh,
love back to you, Radha, and much love to you as well, Emily. I think you're great at what you do. I know you're, looking to take more clients on, and I have there you go. Thanks. It helps a lot.
yay. I'm so glad.
That's why it's exactly why you do it. To help people. So you've done that, and there's another person on the side, Madhi, who's asked a question as well. But we are out of time, guys. I've got something I need to get onto after this. We already run way over time, but I'll connect that other. I don't know if it's a lady or a gentleman with you, Emily, and you can follow up with them. But I would just like to say thank you so much for coming on the show, and thanks for your patience, guys. I know the first 10 minutes were a bit funky because we had some tech issues. That's the beauty of a live podcast. That's just how it goes. But thank you so much to everyone listening. If you want to reconnect with Emily and have your chart read or ask some questions to be read with the cards,
Yeah,
please do.
website, or just drop some questions on my Instagram on one of my posts, and if it's just a quick thing, I can answer those. There's the option, I say, if people resonate, there's the option to donate a quick $5 here and there if you fancy it, or if something resonates. But by all means, if you want a full reading, it's personal to you, book through my website, please.
Beautiful. There you go. Do it, guys. Do it. I've got some great value from that today, and I'll definitely be giving some love back to you, Emily. I'll work my way through the links on that site. Thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate you all, wherever you've been listening from around the world today, or if you're listening in the future. Today is the 25th of September. We are, 3 months until Christmas, yeah? October, November, December, 90 days until Christmas. So, a bit of a milestone there. But look, much love, guys. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you all. The show is nothing but guests. So stay hungry, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on hustling, folks. Emily, thanks so much for joining me, and thanks everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.